So, hey guys, this is Philadelphia Production back at you with another podcast. Now, today's story is going to be about the first time I ever smoked marijuana, or weed, or pot, or basically whatever you want to call weed at the end of the day. This is the first time I ever smoked weed story. So, this goes way, way back. Now, I was about 18 at the time, and to kind of give a little context to the story about how it happened was, sorry guys, I'm outside, so I'm a little tired, so hold up, I just got off work. But to give to give context to the story, I was with my friends. We're gonna call them Edward and Shane for the sake of protecting their identities and stuff like that. So I was with them, and these were people I was very close with for a very long time. I've known them all since they were young boys, and they all know me since I was like 12. We all known each other. I went to school with. Basically, I knew Eddie's cousin, Big J, who is actually my closest friend. I've known him for over a decade. So we knew it. That's how I knew Eddie. And I introduced him to Big J and Eddie through the fact that we went to school together. We went to the same school, same reform school at the same time. But that's a story for another day. But what happened was Eddie and Sheen knew a plug. Well, they knew their uncle, right? So their uncle, we're going to call him Uncle Jack. So Uncle Jack, we all went to Eddie's house, which was a little bit of a distance. So we were walking to Eddie's house, and we were going to hang out, stay over his house for the night. Now, his Uncle Jack lived in the house with him, and Uncle Jack was a pothead, big-time pothead. And Uncle Jack, and apparently Eddie and Sheen at this time actually started smoking weed. So this was my first time smoking. So, what happened is we got a bunch of money together, and we went to Uncle Jack, and Uncle Jack went to get the weed for us. Now, we were at Eddie's house, so we walked across the park. There was a park not even like a couple blocks up from his street, and we went there to hang out. Now, I did not know what weed was. Like, I knew what weed was, but I never smoked, so it was my first really experience with it. So they rolled up about 2 Dutches, which is if you don't know, a Dutch is a blunt. It's a blunt. We rolled up 2 blunts and we smoked them. Now, when I tell you the first time I ever smoked, it was funny as shit. It was funny as shit. I didn't know how to do it correctly, so I kept fucking up. I actually dropped the blunt like multiple times. Eddie and Sheen just looked like they wanted to smack me at a certain point, just be like, smoke it correctly. But I did. I eventually got the hang of it, and as I smoked, I got really, really fucking happy. Like, retardedly happy. Like, and I was just giggling, and I had this, like, I got the munchies at some point. So, basically, it was a really, really good, interesting experience, because when first time I got high, I was really happy, and kind of just, like, I didn't know I could get that happy. So, we ended up smoking the 2 Dutches, and ended up going to McDonald's, which happened to be open at the time, because he lived not that far from McDonald's. We ended up getting a bundle box. We were cracking up in the McDonald's. Like, we were laughing up a storm. Like, it was so obvious that we were high. And I was so paranoid at the same time. And you know what type of paranoia I'm talking about. That's paranoia that everyone's a cop, that the grandma sitting next to you is probably the FBI. That type of paranoia. But I was so happy and just didn't give a fuck because I was so high. Given that it was my first time getting high, I just laughed at everything. I thought everything was funny. So we ended up getting the McDonald's, got the bundle box, and we ended up going to his house. So we ended up going in the house, eating some food, and then we ended up basically smoking more. So we went to Uncle Jack's room and closed his door, and we ended up smoking out of a bowl. Now, after this bowl pack, we hit about like 3 or 4 bowl packs, and we were hotboxing. So if you guys don't know what hotboxing is, when you basically close the door in a sealed room and you just smoke, and you're just constantly inhaling. So at this point, I was super getting fucked up. I was super giggling. I was super laughy. It was the funniest experience to me. I was just super happy. I ended up sleeping on the floor that night and woke up with like just a weird feeling. Like I ended up waking up still high, which was funny as fuck. I was super groggy. And literally the day I came down, after I came down from the high, I texted my friends and was like, we have to do this sometime again. And that's kind of like, guys, I know it's not the most detailed story and it's not the greatest story to tell, but it's a fun story to hear about, like, that's kind of like when I end up becoming my first time I ever smoked weed. For those who are curious, I do still smoke weed. I would consider myself a legit pothead in a lot of ways. But weed has actually, in a lot of ways, helped me out and deal with my mental illness and stuff like that. Now, for those who are curious, I have depression. I've had depression for a very long time. And when I smoke weed, it helps deal with the depression and the dark thoughts and stuff like that. So that's kind of why I've always kept smoking weed. And that was like my first time ever smoking. So, but anyway, guys, this is going to be the end of the podcast. Have a wonderful night, guys. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. And I will see you next time.